Okay, scrappy people, you're gonna have to bear with me through this one. It is going to be rough. This week we lost my 15-year-old doggy, and the way I process things is through art. So I am going to be scrapbooking her memorial page using my brand new flower child collection, which I think is super appropriate because she was my heart dog, and this is my heart collection, I think, one that I made really to speak to myself and my inner child. And so it feels really appropriate that this is the line that I was designing while we had to let her go. So you can see that I took some white paper and printed one of the, or two of the mixed media pieces from the digital kit on this paper. The rainbow is its own separate embellishment that you can layer over anything, and so is the bubble wrap, the Ombre bubble wrap stamp. I also added some Catherine Pooler ink over the top in black, just because my pictures are so dark. She was a black dog, and it was actually gray, and it dried really kind of silvery, which was super fun. So I really liked the way that that came out. It wasn't so dark. I'm going to go ahead and bring in some extra bits and bobs from my stash for this layout. I was waiting for my kit pieces to print and cut, so I decided to go ahead and go through my sequins and pull out some pink and red and white and blue ones to match this layout. And then I also have some textures, or some textures, some lace and some other things like doilies that I'm going to pull in here as well. Okay, so everything is print and cut, and you can see that I divided my journaling up into two different journal cards. Well, they're the same journal card that I printed twice with my journaling. That way I could frame both of these photos with my words and sort of have some baseline symmetry for this page. This is the first photo I ever took of her. It was June 26th, 2009. We got her, she was supposedly about a year old when we got her. I think she was slightly younger than that, just based on how much she changed over the coming year. But we still go with 2008 as her birth year. So when she died, she was just over 16, and we had had her for 15 years, which is a super long life for a dog. So we were super blessed to have her that long. But look at how much she changed in those 15, 16 years. It's just amazing to me. It doesn't even look like the same dog. When we adopted her, they told us that she was half mini pincher, which she's definitely like rat terrier and chihuahua, but you can see how we believe that she was part mini pincher when we picked her up. Okay, so these letters, at the end of this video, I have included a tutorial. I took the letters, the alphabet from the digital kit, and I actually changed it and made it into this ombre sticker. So if you're interested in seeing how I did that in Photoshop, go ahead and stick around to the very last bit after I show you the still photos, and there will be a Photoshop tutorial on how to make those ombre letters. There's also a linked blog post below with a step-by-step tutorial as well. So I have printed a bunch of, actually the majority of what I've printed for this layout is from the digital kit. These little felt layered hearts and those layered flowers. They're just some of my favorites in this collection, and I've used them twice on two different layouts now. Well, I've used the flowers twice on two different layouts now. The last one is coming for our YouTube hop on Sunday. But what was really fun about the print and cut with the felt hearts is because the felt hearts have like a felt edge, so it's really rough around the outside edges. The silhouette took forever, but cut out that rough edge, and so it actually roughed up the edge of the paper too, and it looks really realistic. For being obviously printed felt, the edges look really cool and realistic. So I want to add in a doily here, and I think I'm just going to add in 1/4 of the doily on each side. I just want to add a little bit of extra texture that's not available via, printing and cutting embellishments. So just a little bit of lacy texture. She was such a girly girl in our minds. just such a princess, and I feel like adding some lace and some doilies to this layout really honors her really girly spirit, and I just wanted to add a little bit more. You know, you never have too much good stuff on your layouts, I think. Of course, I decided to do this after I put everything down because that's what I do, and so I have to pull everything up. Oh goodness, I just love that rainbow stripe that's included in the digital kit. That's like a big 12-inch stamp, and I thought it was really appropriate for like a rainbow bridge layout. I sent the photos over that rainbow just as a screenshot to my husband, and I was like, I can't not scrapbook her rainbow bridge layout with this rainbow. It's just perfection. I'm going to rough up the edges of some of these labels. I'm not going to rough up everything, but just adding a little bit of texture to some of these labels just for fun. Now, I could have printed multiple copies or cut multiple copies of these letters and created thickers. I've done that a lot recently, but I managed to fit all of my print and cut pieces on one piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, and I just couldn't resist the thrill of only printing one cut sheet. So no depth and texture for my title this time. I do think that this came out super nice and layered though, with all of the paint and the faux paint and everything else. Sadly, because of the doilies, I did cover up the majority of the bubble wrap paint, which makes me kind of sad. But you'll never know, or I will never remember that it was under there hiding from me. So I'm just going through and adding in, or, you know, putting down all of my bits and pieces, making a lot of little clusters around the page. I couldn't resist adding those rainbows from the sticker sheet as well because, of course, the rainbow bridge motif. And then the sparkles. I think I've added sparkles to every single one of my layouts using this collection. They're just little handy, they're almost like enamel dots, right? Little handy bits to emphasize a little portion of your layout. Now I have to decide what trim I want to add. I really wanted to add that pom-pom trim, but I just felt like it was going to be too much with everything else going on this page. The velvet, while I thought it was going to be the appropriate blue, it just was a little bit weirdly purplish when it went over the blues on the page, so that didn't quite work for me. So now I have two different pieces of lace that I can decide between instead. The bottom word bit says shine on sunshine, and then I have this word bit that's going to point directly to my girl, and it's going to say my sunshine, and I thought that that was cute. My sunshine, shine on sunshine. She's going to be eternally sunny now. It's funny because she was actually abused, we think, before we got her. So she was actually a pretty timid dog, not really effusive in her affections, except for with me. Like, she loved me. She was my soul dog for sure. But she was a kind of a timid baby. You can tell by that last photo of her that she was just a little bit shy, but she was still my sunshine. So the title includes that label I just put down, and it says it's not goodbye, it's just, and then it's gonna say see you later. Man, the amount of times I made myself cry while creating this layout was ridiculous. I also made my husband cry. If you don't want to cry, do not read my journaling. Oh my gosh, my husband was holding it together until he read my journaling, and then he had to walk away. My poor husband. Oh, it's been a really rough few years for us with animals. We lost our cat Loki in, let's see, 2020, the beginning of 2021, and then we lost Reese in September or the end of August of 2021. We adopted 2 cats and another dog in between that, and then dear old Abby lasted until July 1st, 2024, but that is 3 animals in less than 3 years, and it's been rough, and he's definitely on the struggle bus with it, my poor guy. Well, I mean, we all are, but he really wears his heart on his sleeves with our animals. He loves them so much. So I decided to add the lace trim above and below the journaling cards, and I think that that really adds a fun textural element to the top of the cards, especially, well, I mean, especially up here on this one because it's white to white to white. The other card obviously isn't going to have that same effect, but I think it's really neat the way that it all plays together, and just adds like a little, almost like a scalloped edge, right, to the edge of the journaling card. And I just glued it down with some liquid glue. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is pull all of those sequins out. And initially, I thought maybe I would cascade them from the bottom left to the top right, sort of going with the rainbows, but it just didn't look right. You can see when I start putting everything down, it just doesn't quite look right going that direction. So instead, I'm going to rearrange everything and make it go with the direction of the photos instead. And I think that that really works out well. And I will not make you watch me put them all down. But that is it for this video, except for the tutorial at the end if you want to stick around for that. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. And I will see you next time. Bye. Alright, so these letters, while I love the shape of them, and of course I love the letters, I made them, they don't quite fit with the vibe of my layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them gradient. So the first thing that you do is make sure that all of your letters are open, and then double click on any of them in the layers palette and add a gradient overlay. Now you can choose your own gradient by clicking on any one of these colored squares and eyedropping from your layout to pick any color on the layout that you want to use. I already have the gradient in my gradients because I created with it. So I am just moving it around so that I can see all of the colors, but then I also want it to be horizontal and not vertical. So I'm going to change it to 0 degrees, which makes it vertical. So 90 degrees makes the blue at the top, and I want the blue at the bottom, so we're going to do negative 90 degrees. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead now and add a stroke, a white stroke on the outside at 10 points. And this is going to create the sticker edge for me to connect all of my letters together when I go ahead and print and cut. Right click on that layer that you've applied your stroke and gradient to and hit copy layer style. Then select all of your layers and hit paste layer style, and now they should all have this same layer style. Now I just zoomed in so that I can make sure that all of my letters are touching each other and that they will print and cut all as one piece. Then I select all of the letters of my layer, of my title, my word, and merge them together with Control or Command E to make them one word. There are written instructions on the blog post in the description box below if you need help with this or if you need slower tutorial. All of that is linked below. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Thank you.